How's it going there today so far?
Beautiful. Proud to be sucking air, brother.
Well said. It is such a pleasure to connect. I've obviously been following your music for decades, seen you over the years at Westbury Music Fair in New York and all that. What's keeping you busy at the moment?
Well, writing some songs with Jim Piederick from the Ides of March.
Sure.
And we've been doing a few songs, and I've done some shows with those guys. Jim's a great guy, and the Ides of March, I think, are the oldest rock band that's still together 55 years, and it's the same dudes. So I like to be around people like that are solid.
Yeah, and plus that's without talking about all the work he did in Survivor and the work that he did for 38 Special and all that. When did you and Jim first connect in your careers?
Well, we did a rock cruise together, and that's when I met him. It was one of those, I can't remember. I think it might have been the Moody Blues cruise. Yes, I think it was, as I recall. And Jim came in with his cowboy boots and everything on. And I said, "There's a rocker right there." And he went over and he was in line getting something to eat. And then I met up with him and talked with him, and he was a pleasant guy to talk to, very down to earth, not tripping out on anything, just a good guy to hang with, and a great musician.
But he's not a Detroit guy, am I right about that?
No, he's a Chicago guy.
Right. And you have always intrigued me, as a huge, huge music fan, because I'm from Long Island. I still live on Long Island, New York. And Long Island is to Billy Joel as Grand Funk is to Michigan. Do I have that correct, where you are this? Now, granted, you always did stadiums like Shea Stadium, that infamous concert, which I want to ask you about. But it's kind of like you're this next level thing in Michigan. And it seems like every region has that kind of band, and you're that of Michigan.
Right on. Well, proud to be assembly line rock and roller.
Exactly. But Michigan, in my humble opinion, is the greatest music city in the history of the U.S. because not just you and Seeger and Motown and all that, but punk and garage started there. We still have a lot of hip-hop artists from there.
Yes.
Do you still live in Michigan to this day?
Oh, yeah. I live in the tip of the mitt. I moved back in 1976. I moved north. I was farming. We call it down below because I'm north now. Everything's down below. I was farming down below, and I was leasing ground to plant corn and to plant oats and to plant wheat. I was lease, several hundred acres and plant them, and then we'd harvest and take the harvest over. Then a farm came up for sale in northeastern Michigan. And it was like 1,600 acres, and I wouldn't have to pay money to people to lease the land. I could just plant, and I think it had like 600 acres tillable, and the other 1,000 acres of woods and swamp. So we moved north in 76 up to the Onaway area, northeast, and we farmed there. And I'm serious, we had guys from the road that would work out as road crew and then come back and work on the farm with me. In fact, our head road guy, John White, his dad was a dairy farmer, and there wasn't anything that John couldn't do as far as, when it came to farming, he knew everything. So it was a good deal, good arrangement.
When you're that kind of handy when it comes to farming, does that mean that you're also super involved when it comes to the electronics and the studio teching and all that?
Oh, no. No. Electronics and we disagree sometimes. And I can't get it to see my way.
Well, not what we were talking about here, but Grand Funk is one of the best-selling bands of all time in the States. And anytime that there's like a lick of new music or something from the archives, a lot of people get excited. But is there a lot still in the archives or unreleased at this point?
There is maybe a handful of things that haven't been released, and likely won't. People have asked me about the footage of Shea Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and why that hasn't been released. I can only speculate to say that the corporation controls that footage, and they are trying to present a totally different Grand Funk Railroad to the public, well, have been for the last 20 years, but all they could ever be is a tribute band without the original guys. It's the same thing with Journey. Just because legally they can use that name or license it to somebody else to use, that's not an honest presentation to our fans and to our audience. And that is the ones who I am closest to. Because, Brother Darren, my songs say who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am who my songs say I am. Those other guys are not who my songs say I am. So people are getting, not that they're bad musicians or anything, but there's just a bunch of scam bands out there that, like the Platters. I was on the phone doing an interview with Gunnar Nelson, and Gunnar was a guest DJ in Cleveland, and he calls me up and he's going, "Hey, Farner, man, I wanted you to know this, that the Platters have 126 different bands that all use the same name." I said, "How do they do that?" He says, "Good question. I knew you were going to ask, so I got it together for you." He says, "Dude, there's a man who owns that trademark, the Platters, and he has a corporation that controls it. And they license that name to 126 different bands that all give him a little take on every gig." It's legally, I guess it's the truth, and they can do it. But, from the heart, I would not do that. I would say it's, the name of this band minus that, blah, blah, tell the truth. And I thought there should be some kind of website where you can go and you see the star rating. There's a star. And in that star, on this side, there's a number of the original members in that band. On this side, there's the number depicting how many of those original members are left in there. And then off to the side, but just at a glance, you can go, oh, 8 members and there's 1 left. Okay. Yeah. Get some honesty in there. But
Sure.
as the fans are being taken advantage of, and they're not being considered carefully like I would like to see them considered.
Understandable. But the Shea Stadium show, you think will never come out due to feuding or rights?
Not as long as jealousy is alive on this planet.
That's a fair assessment. So putting all that aside, 50 years of I'm Your Captain, Closer to Home and all that. Wow. Is that a big thing for you, or is it more that that's the PR angle that people come up with 50 years, 25 years, 100 years? Like, do you care about anniversaries?
I do. I like that ring, 50. It's got a nice ring to it. And when someone mentioned it to me, I hadn't considered it. I had not even thought about it, but somebody said, it's going to be 50 years. I'm going, 50 years? I don't even feel 50. Yeah, it's something. And that, thank God for classic rock radio. Because back when we were making this music, there was no such thing as classic rock radio. It was,
right. And that's something that come up when I recently interviewed the comedian Sinbad, who's from Benton Harbor. He likes Grand Funk. He said, hey, those guys are funky and all that. And you guys came at it at a time when radio was multi-formatted by default. Everyone kind of listened to everything. Were you initially an R&B guy that got into rock and roll, or a rock and roll guy that got into R&B?
Initially R&B that got into rock and roll. Yeah, I like to dance. My mother taught us kids how to dance, clear out, pull the table back out of the dining room, put everything off to the side and get out there and cut a rug.
Still that way all these years later?
Yep, still that way. And Lisa and I, after 42 years of marriage, we still drag stuff off to the side of the living room and turn up some R&B. Well, I like to dance to R&B, and it's good exercise. It really is.
Well, that was going to be another question. How does Mark Farner still stay in shape all these years later? Is it just dancing, or are you a workout guy?
No, the style of my life. I mean, you know, I run a chainsaw. When I go down to the garden, I run down to the garden. When I come back to the house, I run. I go out to the barn, I run. I try to stay active. We've got 29 stairs in the house that we are, you know, negotiating every day. And that's part of what keeps me as healthy as I am, because you got to move this thing. You got to exercise or it's all going to stop.
And a good deed that you've been involved with as of late is Michigan-related flood relief. Can you tell me where all of that is at the moment? Because obviously this is not just an overnight fix and people need to help with this long term.
Yes, absolutely. Our Michiganders and neighbors, brothers and sisters down in the Midland area, I know quite a few people in that area who have sent me their own private little video clip and saying, this is, you know, where the lake used to be, and you look out there and it's just, everything's gone. And you see the devastation. People have lost everything in this, and there's not much in the news about it, not much coverage. It does, you know, I guess it isn't a high enough on the disaster to get much coverage, but it's still, people are hurting down there. And we did start the Mid-Michigan Flood Relief, Mark Farner's Mid-Michigan Flood Relief, to raise money to give to the Michigan Red Cross, who are helping these people in the Midland area. And it's slow going. It really is. People don't have a lot of money to give right now, and especially down in that neck of the woods, there's a lot of people who are going without. So anyways, when we do help, it's good for the heart, and it's good for those who are watching to know this is how we take care of things. This is what we do. When somebody's in trouble in our state, this is what we do.
Yeah, it seems like Flint just keeps getting hit with thing after thing after thing after all the water contamination. It all seems to go back to maybe the film Roger and Me, where it's been 35 years or so of trouble out in Flint, but it seems like just a lovely group of hardworking people in that city.
It is, and the families there, and the music that has come out of Flint, I'm not going to say there isn't any racial discrimination. There isn't much in Flint, Michigan, in the north like that. It's way different than in the south, where it was prevalent. In the north, you know, I never heard about anything like, you know, people calling names and just because somebody's a certain color. That's crazy. That is absolute insanity. And I'm not going to be involved with anything like that. And I feel sorry for people who are getting that way and who are encouraged to be that way on lamestream media.
The term lamestream media always cracks me up. I'm hoping not to be part of it. Hopefully this is no agenda or anything coming through and all that.
Right on. God bless you.
But in terms of Michigan and the celebratory nature of Detroit and the surrounding areas, have you ever heard of a television show that went 2 or 3 seasons called Detroiters?
Detroiters? No.
Oh, it was a comedy show on Comedy Central that really aimed to show the great parts of the city of Detroit. And you mentioned that you're still here all these years later, which is great, to say the very least. I haven't been to Detroit aside from the airport. When somebody goes out there, assuming everything's back to normal, what are some of the things that people should do in the area?
That should go down to Greektown. Whoopa.
Yeah.
We got great resources for food in Detroit. There's great history in Detroit. What there is left standing, a lot of it went down, of course. And I always tell people, if you want to see what happens when a country stops supporting itself, look at Detroit, look at Flint, look at Pontiac, look at Michigan. That comes from people that were not taught to be patriotic and support their own country by buying cars and trucks made in their own country. But I'll tell you one little episode with a friend of mine and also my partner in acoustic band that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Is Dusty D'Annunzio. He's from Windsor, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
And Dusty bought a new one of these caravans. It's like a Chrysler caravan.
Sure.
His neighbor across the street from him worked at Chrysler. And so he came over, knocked on a door. Dusty came to the door. His neighbor said, "Sir, I just want to thank you for buying that new caravan." He says, "Because I'm a worker over there and you helped me keep my job. God bless you." It's like, that's the way it ought to be, Darren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The opposite end of it would be that a lot of artists have started charging for their meet and greets, but you've been a fan-friendly guy all these years, to say the least.
Well, I try to be. And that's my nature. My human nature is to be friendly, and I like people. And even when I got crapped on, I mean, I wouldn't say I got shit on. I got crapped on. But
That's less.
But,
yes.
yes. And but it hasn't changed the basic nature. It just keeps me looking over to the side. You got to kind of watch your back. If you don't have somebody back there standing guard 24/7, you got to watch your own back.
So, again, a guy who's been prominent for 50-ish years now, even before that, if we go pre-Grand Funk and all that. But is there anything still left to accomplish, or do you not think that way?
As far as goals, I just want to make another. I got a couple of songs that are really near and dear to my heart. And I wrote one about having children, about having sons. I got 5 sons.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Tiny Fingers. And I'm going to get, as soon as I can sing it without the softball developing here while I'm trying to sing it, because performing something like that, I have to close my eyes. I sing into the mic, but I am the character of the song when I'm singing the song. I try to put myself in that place to emphasize as much as I can the nature and what the song is actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that one, and I've got another song about when Jesse broke his neck in 2010. He died 2018, 4th of July. God rest his soul. He went through a lot. And I've got a song that came out of me during his time when he first got hurt. And I think it's about time for that one to be released too, because the songs are definitely going to help someone who's going through similar circumstances in their life. And I always want to help,
So it sounds like the things left to accomplish are to create more art and to help people in the process of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
And then looking back at everything, is there an accomplishment that you're most proud of from, even if it's just your solo time, that you go, that's me, that's what I want everybody to know and think about when they hear the name Mark Farner?
Well, in 2005, I was given the Cherokee Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a lot of plaques from, the U.S. Armed Forces and a lot of letters of appreciation and what have you. But when I got the Cherokee Medal of Honor, I went to the Cherokee Nation, I went to Tahlequah,
Mm-hmm.
and the reservation was the 14 northeast counties of Oklahoma. And I went through the museum for the Trail of Tears, and I actually wept because the spirit of the people, even though they got drugged through the mud and thousands died on the way, the spirit is still alive there. And through the natives that I talked to and the natives that I hung out with, the soul of the Cherokee people is still intact. And who I talked to out there, who I was hanging out with, they all appreciated what I have done in this world. And I'm an 8th Cherokee on my mother's side. And then some came to me and they said, we wish the full bloods would be as proud as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had seen a lot of, discrimination over the years, a lot. And that's my most personal accomplishment, was the love that I felt there when I went to Tahlequah and talked to the people and took part in the ceremonies and saw the other people that they were honoring, met Talmadge Davis, one of the greatest artists I've ever seen in my life, and he's gone to heaven now.
Mm-hmm.
Checked out of his bone suit, but I'll catch up to him when I leave mine.
Well, 2 quick questions, if you don't mind, and one of them stupid, if so.
I'm sorry?
Do you still have time for 2 quick questions? And then,
yes. No.
Okay. This first question is stupid, but also serious. Your name, Mark Farner. One of the top classic rock bands is Foreigner. Has that ever caused confusion in bookings or appearances or anything, Farner and Foreigner?
It has with some fans. Never with booking or, anything legal where there's a contract tied to it, because it's pretty much spelled out. But the fans, oh, Mark Farner, oh yeah. My favorite band, man.
If you have the wrong accent, Farner and Foreigner could come out the same exact way. I don't know if you've ever been asked that one. Well, the closer, because you've been so generous with your time, is any last words for the kids?
Well, stay true to your heart. You got a real good heart. God put a good heart in each one of us. And that heart will take us back to where we started once we expire from life.
Sure.
That heart stays alive and lives. And I can say, because when I had my pacemaker put in, I died and I went to heaven. I've been there, and I didn't want to come back to this bone suit. But I came kicking and screaming. And the thing that I want to live out with the rest of my years is the confidence that I have of knowing where I'm going and being able to talk to people intelligently about having my experience. And maybe somebody's having some troubles. Maybe they've lost someone. and they're having some troubles with it. But I'm telling you, God is so good, and that blood of Jesus, it's unconditional. So when people say, "Well, yeah, you do that, you ain't going to," people, it really happens a lot in churches, because people become superstitious in these churches, and it's all about passing the plate. Even the Bible says, "Don't give when somebody's compelling you to give. Don't give, and don't give begrudgingly." But every time I went to the churches, they'd pass the plates down through there. I'd say, pay attention to your heart. Don't be compelled to give just because somebody's asking you to give. Go to your heart and check in and make sure your heart's good with it.
Something that you said in the middle of that, bone suit. You referred to your body as a bone suit. Don't lose that one. I've never heard that one before.
All right, Darren.
That's the song. So thank you so much for your time, Mark. Really generous of you, and looking forward to seeing you live in New York when this all ends.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thanks.
God bless you.
Paltrocast.